Hey guys, Aaron here. At home sick still, and thought I would do another video that I've been really wanting to do recently, and I want to talk about the anatomy of a flipper deployed knife. I'm going to kind of walk through the different parts that make up a flipper deployed knife, what makes a good flipper deployed knife versus a not good flipper deployed knife, so on and so forth. And what I've done is I have taken apart my Kershaw tilt here, so you guys can kind of see the guts of it. The tilt is one of the nicest flipper knives that I've ever handled, and yeah, so let's kind of get into it. On the tilt, you have a bearing system, which is going to be what the blade rides around when it's opening and closing. You have a stop pin here, and you have a stop pin here. The tilt has 2 stop pins. Some knives only have 1. Then you have this is going to be your flipper tab when the blade is in the closed position, like that. And then on the other side of the blade, you're going to have your detent hole right there, and you can see a little bit of the detent track here. And then on your lock bar, you're going to see your ball detent right there. And so the ball detent is going to lock into there when the blade's closed, and that's going to cause the resistance needed. So as you're pushing down on the flipper, you're going to build up centrifugal force that will eventually push this out and flip the blade around. Witness Exhibit A. So. So what happens is, like I said, as you push down on this, you're building up centrifugal force. You can actually see it happen right there. As I push down, and that's going to be what swings it out like that. So things that make up a successful flipper design, in my opinion, are correct detent strength, an appropriate bearing system, and then flipper placement on the knife, depending on where the flipper is in relation to the pivot point. The further forward you have it, the more of a direct inward push you need to make. So yeah. A good a good example to show you of a different sort of flipper method is the new Benchmade axis flipper. This does not have a ball detent. The detent in the blade, as you can see right there, is achieved by the axis lock. And that's why the flipping action of this knife can be a little lethargic, and sometimes requiring some wrist action. I still really am a fan of this knife. I haven't carried it too much yet, but it's nice and smooth. But I mean, you can tell just in like sort of the lethargy of the blade as I push on that, as opposed to something that just rockets out like that, or like this. Something else to consider too is that flippers all flip a little differently. So, for example, the hoe back, you almost push it straight in like a button. But if I try and do that on the Graham, you see I can't deploy the knife quite as well. It actually is fairly difficult. So the Graham actually takes more of a light switch, whereas the hoe back is just a straight in. But just to sort of review, the most important parts of a flipper knife, in my opinion, are the detent. Oops, I have to get that in a second. Are the detent strength and the bearing system, and then followed also by the flipper placement. But detent really plays the largest role in it, because that's going to be what determines whether or not you have enough force to get the blade all the way up and around. So I don't know if this was something you guys were interested in. I hope so. I've always thought it was really interesting. I think flippers are some of the coolest design knives that are out there, and I just wanted to share that with you guys a little bit. So, yeah, thanks a lot. And 5 minutes later. Such a nice knife.